Sure you are. Yeah, absolutely. Well done, everybody at your school. Very special. And any thoughts, ideas? Rashida had a question, didn't she, about inspection? Was it?
So, are you inspected then, Shelley?
Yes, we are. Because we're part of Rivermead, we're inspected the same as the main school are. We are due any day. So it's been 3 years since we've had our last inspection at the main school. So we haven't had a formal inspection, but we have had external inspections coming in from agencies called Insight, who come in, and we've had 2 of those, and they've really helped us actually, because it's obviously we're a trauma-informed school, so everything we do is around the mental health as well as the academic side of it, and it's taught us to really push forward with promoting what we do academically as well, equally to our mental health side of, because we're not mental health clinicians, we are all just teachers. So yeah, so we learn an awful lot. So I'm hoping that when we do actually get our Ofsted inspection, we will be able to show all the progress that the children make within their academic side as well.
And just for the group, it's Mick McGee who's been going in and supporting you, hasn't he?
Yeah, Mick's great. Yeah, Mick's brilliant
as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Shelley, a couple more questions. One from me, but actually somebody else has put this one up here as well. Vanessa, thank you. Obviously, communication with the various different agencies that you work with, like the schools that they go back to, and working with parents, is really, really important. And one of the things when I'm working in schools is seeing and talking to the Senko as to how do they reintegrate the children who've been out in sort of one-to-ones with the specialists, and how are they reintegrated back into the classrooms? But I guess for you, effectively back into the classrooms, for you it'd be back into their main schools. So what's the liaison like with the schools? And then we'll come on to the parents in a moment.
Okay, so from the minute we get the referral through, we get in touch with the homeschools, whether that's so a lot of the referrals are from the homeschools, but obviously for the more complex ones, it's coming via the LA, but usually the homeschools are aware of it anyway. So from the get-go, we do meetings with the homeschools, we have points of contact, who are our main points of contact. We then have review meetings with the homeschools every few months, so we update them on their academic attainment and their progress, as well as their mental health progress, and then reintegrating them back into the schools, into their home schools. From the minute that we kind of think, yeah, we think they're ready, we get in touch. Obviously we're constantly in touch with them, but we then contact the homeschools and say, right, we need to start putting plans together, and we work really closely with the homeschools. And then so it might just start, I mean, we've got this saying at our place that we go for a drive-by, the kids think it's hysterical. So it might just be as simple as a drive-by the school, because they haven't stepped foot in their home schools, for some of them, for quite a while. So we start it off, it's real small steps, drive-bys, visit, might just go and have a look around, and then our staff work with the children in their classes in the home schools, because we've got that relationship with them so that they continue to feel safe and secure. And then what we've found is the responsives and the way our team model what we do with these children supports the schools, the mainstream schools and the home schools, to support them in how to deal with these kids as well. So we do training with the schools as well. We do a lot of training across schools in Medway regarding trauma-informed approach, and the ethos that we have. We're lucky. We opened this school, and from the day one, it had that ethos. It's hard to do that in the big comprehensive schools, or the bigger secondary schools, to gain that sort of ethos. But yeah, so we work really closely with the home schools, and then we gradually pull away. But we also track the kids for a year after they actually leave us completely. And we keep in touch with the families, and we keep in touch with the home schools. And touch wood, we've not had anyone back so far.
Brilliant.
So is there an additional team who works with the parents as liaison, or you don't have
No,
that?
it's us lot.
Yeah.
It's us lot. So yeah, we work really closely with the parents as well. We support the parents with statutory assessment. We support them with referrals to wherever. We have a lot of early help involvement as well, working with multi-agencies. We support the parents getting the kids. I mean, we get phone calls sometimes in the morning. It's like they will not get out of bed, and we're like, we're on our way. That doesn't happen often, but we've actually just been there and we've built up that relationship with the families that they're just like, yeah, come in, just get them out of bed, get them in. And so that works really well as well. I mean, that's quite an extreme example, but
And then another question is, do you have visits from other providers to learn from your great practice and outcomes?
yeah, we do actually. We really encourage all our homeschools definitely into us. We do moderation with our homeschools as well for the academic side, and that's really, that was our way in. We kept sort of inviting people in, come and see what we do, come and see the children, come and do, and everyone's so busy. So we came up with the idea that we, and it kind of ticked all the boxes, that we wanted to do some cross moderation. Because we are the only, so although we've got Rivermead, which is the secondary special school, we haven't got your sort of mainstream equivalent attainment wise in our trust. So we thought just tap into the homeschools for moderations, and we insist that they come to us because we're obviously such a small team, we cannot go anywhere and leave our kids. So they came in, and then that encourages them to look around and see what we're doing. And we also provide a little training via the Rivermead solutions that we've been doing, and that goes out to a lot of the Medway schools as well.
Another question is, what is one thing, I'll come to yours, Janet, in a minute, I haven't forgot yours. What is the one thing that mainstream providers could learn from you? If there was one key thing, what would you want them to learn from you?
Oh God. No, that's too controversial to say.
I think it's too controversial.
I think it would be stand your ground. If that child needs nurturing, protect, regulation and reflection over and above their academic focus for a short period of time to get them back on track, to be able to learn, stand your ground and do it.
Absolutely.
As long as you have got the research and all the evidence of why that child needs that, I think there is such, and quite rightly, such a focus on academic attainment and progress and accelerated progress if there's gaps and things. But if that child is not ready because of the trauma they've encountered, you're hitting a brick wall. So if it's a short, sharp intervention to get them back on track, stand your ground and stand up for that child, because that's what they need.
The phrases we've been using through all of these seminars, right from this time last year when COVID really kicked off, was that we're just trying to get schools to have the courage of their convictions, to say, this is what is best for our children, we're going to do it, sod Ofsted, and I don't mean it in the nicest politest way, and this is going out loud. But I mean it, you know, have the courage of your convictions, do the right thing for the child.
Yeah, absolutely. No, you're right.
So, and Joanna, Janet said, have you done any work with Gloucester House?
No.
Janet, do you want to come in with that one? Can you unmute?
Yeah, Gloucester House is a school run by the Tavistock and Portman Clinic. So they are a very interesting place because they're a combined therapy and education. Because the only way that the Tavistock decided that they could set it up was to set up their own school to get something that would work both together. And they also they start much younger. So they start with primary children with obviously with major trauma, and all those kind of things. And the therapists and the teachers work as a partnership team. It'd be great for you to go and see. It's a really interesting place.
No, that sounds great. I mean, we're really lucky. I mean, I haven't mentioned our therapy team, but we've got a whole therapy team within our trust that are always at our place. So, and they, like you said, they work hand in hand with the teachers and the class teams to make sure that the therapeutic side is embedded in classroom practice as well. But yeah, I'd love to go and visit Gloucester House. I love getting out to other places. Sounds brilliant, Janet. Thank you.
Yeah, that's okay. It's just, I've reviewed it twice and visited it, and it's just kind of right up your alley, really. So, yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, and there's not many places that are as kind of our equivalent, so it's lovely to be able to do that. That's great. Thank you. We can share practice and magpie. I love doing
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
So where is the Gloucester House?
It's in West London somewhere. I can't remember which borough it's in. It's not that far from the Tavistock Hospital, where the Portman Clinic is.
Okay.
But they're looking for a new building. They're in just some great big, Victorian kind of house thing, which of course is worth a packet where it is. So it needs selling and then moving to something more suitable. But yeah, interesting place.
Brilliant.
Have we got any more questions? Please feel free to voice them now. I don't think you have to write them down. We've got about 6 minutes left of Shelley's time. Anything that comes to mind?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Shelley, I think I'll hand over to Malcolm.
No, absolutely. It's just an extraordinary job you're doing, Shelley. And, that's off to you and your staff for doing the sort of work you do, because obviously these young people are very needy and need the sort of support that you're providing them with. I think it's fantastic. And
it's a privilege to work with these kids, actually.
Yeah, they make such a difference to their lives.
Yeah, it's great to work with them.
A question has just come in. We're almost going back to having special schools as we did some years ago. Separate special schools, i.e. EBD, SLD, etc. Do you think that will happen?
Sorry, I cut out there. So we're almost going back to special schools.
Yeah. For example, EBD, SLD, etc. Do you think that will happen?
Well, in Medway, we have got quite a number of special schools. I mean, I'm from London, and I know when I first started teaching sort of 25 years ago, they did shut down a lot of the special schools, and the theory was that these children would be integrated and that mainstream schools would be funded and provide. But in Medway, there are still quite a high number of special schools. But I think, actually, myself and some colleagues were discussing this the other day. Prior to working at Rivermead, I worked at Dane Court, which is a primary, because my actual background is primary originally. I was in a primary SEN for sort of like MLD school. And what we're finding now, because some of my colleagues are still there, the kids that we would have had there sort of 15 years ago are now in mainstream schools. And the children that are now going to Dane Court are much more complex. And there's another school around here, Abbey Court, and that was classed as your PMLD school. So we're noticing that the kids that would have gone to Abbey Court are now going to Dane Court, and that the kids that are going to Abbey Court are even more complex than PMLD. Now, whether that is because of medical science, extending lives of children that possibly wouldn't have been before. But I do see a place for inclusion in mainstream schools. My previous school before that was a mainstream school, and I was inclusion leader in Senko. And I think there is a place for these children in mainstream schools if the mainstream schools stand up and do what we talked about earlier by standing by these kids and fighting for the funding that these children need to enable them to succeed.
Kathy's saying, what I find interesting is that you are mainly girls when most special provision, you haven't finished, I'm assuming you're saying, Kathy, about boys.
Yeah, I mean the boys, yes. Sorry, I got, I don't know how to undo that bit.
No
That's all right,
worries.
no,
That's
leave
all
it,
right.
it's
I
okay.
guessed. So yeah, do the boys go elsewhere, or are they just?
No, we do take boys. I mean, we have had, I mean, we started off and it was all girls, and we've had a slow creep in of boys lately. But we're still very, very low numbers on boys. But Kathy, if I reflect on our main school, you're absolutely right. So our main school is an ASD specialist school for secondary, and that is predominantly boys.
Most special schools are 2/3 boys, aren't they?
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Across the country, which is fascinating.
Gulshan.
Yeah, I was just going to come back, and I mean, I think that's all about how we assess need, actually, because traditionally, from what I've been in a lot of APs or what were PRUs, and again, PRUs were largely boys, excluded pupils, unless you had, you know, sometimes school refusers or school, and often they would be girls, and often it would be mental health needs, etc. So girls are much more quickly recognized for mental health needs. Possibly it might be because girls articulate their feelings and emotions better, whereas boys, it shows in behavior. So the behavior is interpreted as there's something wrong with you. You know, you're just a bad boy, you're behaving badly. So I think some of it is definitely how we assess, but some of it is how we socialize, I think, and how girls express and boys express the pain inside.
And
I'm sure that's right.
Well, there are just more boys with special needs, and that's a fact. But I was going to say something else, that often it's a question of semantics. When we talk about intervention, and schools talk about intervention, and I think that we need to embrace that we have a more neurodiverse school population, and talk about provision rather than intervention, because intervention implies straight away something's gone wrong, we have to intervene, whereas provision, it's a planned process. Obviously it requires a longer discussion, but we've been talking about reforming curriculum and assessment, and it's all part of that. It's making that provision at the start for students to be able to make progress at their own level, that school readiness that we talked about, you know, when disseminating Jeff's report, and those who read the report will know what I'm talking about. I think that provision, then providing the young people with the right curriculum, it's a start. You will still find children that can't cope for various needs, you know, medical needs and so on. But I think to minimize that, and to minimize the pressure and the mental health issues, we need to reform the curriculum. And I think we're back to square one, you know, where we started that whole discussion.
Yeah, I think you're right. Okay, we've sort of banged on 6 o'clock now. So Shelley, fantastic. Really, really appreciate you sharing all of that with us. As I say, you know, very special school and doing a fantastic job. And, you know, I can't give you as much praise as I would like to, really.
Oh, thank you.
Takes very special people to work with those sorts of young people. So well done, you.
No, we have got an amazing team up there.
I'm sure you have. Okay.